The Lost Signals present Was It Worth It? A series where we compare special editions of films to their original theatrical releases. Then we try and determine if the effort was worthwhile. The following program contains spoilers, adult language, and content.
Hello and welcome to Was It Worth It? Where we take a look at movies that have a director's or extended cut and see if it was worth the effort. I'm your host tonight, Rich Perry, and I'm joined by Luis Duran.
Good evening.
And Chris Morgan.
Good evening.
The movie we picked tonight was Batman vs. Superman, and I'm going to let Chris give us a little rundown of it.
Okay. Well, it starts off with yet another origin story for Bruce Wayne, because we have to hammer in your head that his parents died and his mom was named Martha. And then, and then I don't know, stuff happens, and there's some really good scenes with Alfred and Bruce, and somebody's trying to frame Superman. Turns out to be Lex Luthor, played by
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg, and that stuff's really boring. And then there's this whole thing where, I don't know, stuff happens, and then Batman and Superman fight, and then Batman issues the safe word Martha, and then they become friends, and they save Superman's mom Martha, and Doomsday happens, and Wonder Woman saves the day because she's awesome and her music's awesome, and then Superman dies, and there is so much padding between the slow motions and the it just takes forever to do anything, and then the film finally fucking ends because Superman's dead, and Lois throws dirt on his coffin, and then the dirt rises up, and the movie's over.
His resurrection 3 days later.
Yeah. If you can't tell, I'm not particularly fond of this movie. So it just kind of, I mean, it was, I don't know. When we saw it in the theater, I don't remember it being this bad, but like we're sitting here watching it again tonight, and I am fighting not to fall asleep.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough go. I've seen this movie the most out of all of us, but it hasn't really gotten any better with each viewing.
I mean, I know, well, we also know the thing is that we decided to do the Ultimate Edition, so it went from 2.5 hours to just over 3. And
you feel it.
I do really like this movie, especially with the Ultimate Edition. But there's a lot of padding, too much slow-mo, very strange callback to scenes, you know, that you not only did you just recently watch like 20 minutes ago, but from the beginning of the movie and throughout, it's just very redundant at times. And every time they do something fairly well, they decide to do something just as silly to kind of negate what you just watched. I'm not sure if you guys felt that way about something. Like the Capitol scene was pretty cool, but then everything shortly after that with the motive, with even the piece of that they bring in that the wheelchair was partly lead. Yeah. So Superman couldn't see that. That was brilliant, and they took it out of the film that he tells Lois tells him about. Oh no, she finds out rather, and that was all great and everything. But once Superman saves her, she doesn't say it to him, and then it just seems it falls on the wayside, and it did not. It's little things like that didn't make sense to me. That kind of pissed me off.
True, that would have been a bit of information he could have used because of that. His loss of. See, he even said to her I feel like I didn't see it because I wasn't looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And just that would have switched his fears a bit. And those any thoughts creeping up that he was losing his humanity, who would have put him? He's like, oh, somebody set me up. Instead of having to go on that 10-minute retirement into the mountains. Talk to the ghost of his dead dad.
But yeah, that scene with Kevin Costner as Papa Kent, that was definitely not needed. That did not serve a purpose, or giving hope or insight, anything like that.
I feel like that whole speech was the opposite of hope.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, every time you do some good, somebody's gonna suffer.
Yeah, because Clark goes up to the mountain and sees his dad, and his dad tells him the story of this flood, and that he and his father worked all night, and they saved their flood, and they moved the the water down to the neighboring farm, and it drowned all their horses.
Lana
and
Lang's
everything.
house.
Oh, was it Lana Lang's house?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's just like, okay. And then, we drowned some horses and everything. It's like, okay,
I can still hear the screams.
Can you yeah. It's like Silence of the Lambs, Clarice. Can you still hear the horses? It's not really good, Hannibal Lecter, but.
It was a valiant effort.
Yeah.
But but what I didn't understand either is that they didn't make it quite clear when they did it with Bruce that it's obviously a dream or like of some kind, because it just had him walking by these two people earlier on, right at like maybe the
that was an extra scene
at the base, and they're just like, yeah, like, that guy looks like he's walking like going to die, and then all of a sudden Papa Kent, like, where did that come from? Like, that doesn't, and it just goes to the next scene. That really just doesn't have a place, or at least maybe it's just in the wrong place in the film. But it just seemed it wasn't organic to me.
No, that scene wasn't needed. And unfortunately, that was not an add-on. It was actually in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Cause, we'll find a way to post it, but, the three of us, reviewed, Batman vs. Superman when it first came out. And while it's on iTunes, we had an issue with YouTube. So we're going to try to get that up there.
Couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah. So if we're being brief on this movie, it's because, we're going to make available that review because, we rewrote the movie and it was much better. I mean, we can rewrite it now if you want. I mean, cause it's much more interesting than what we saw in this movie. So if we're skipping over it, we're kind of, it's the extended cut, and that's what we're here to talk about. So we'll try to make up that other review up for you. So
I'd like to start it off with the scenes that I felt were definitely needed and should have never been taken out of the theatrical cut. All of Clark Kent's motivation for going after the Batman.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
It's like you have the scene with Perry giving him the sports section or the Gotham Metropolis U game to go over, and then the very next scene is like him just like, hey Perry, we should go after the Batman, leaving out all the legwork that he did in Gotham, learning about this guy.
Well, we had to have more time for that nuclear missile scene, so.
Yeah, that especially Clark's kind of journey through Gotham, and you've seen the exact opposite of what it is in Metropolis. To parallel those two worlds was amazing because Clark has his journey as he's getting pulled down to Batman's level, and Batman, at the end of the film, actually, he comes over as Superman is because he gives him hope. He says he failed him and all that, and you don't see that on Clark's side when they take it out.
No,
because everything that the investigation was awesome, except maybe like the photograph settings, like where somebody wrote, execution or judge, jury, and executioner, and I'm like, all right, you're really killing us with that.
I'm surprised how many people didn't figure out it was Lex doing all of this just because of how fucking pretentious half this stuff sounded.
Well, the funny thing about this is, cause like, I think we talked about, and I definitely Rich and I talked about right after we saw the movie, cause we saw it together, was that everything was very heavy handed. And then with the extra scenes, everything is even more so heavy handed and slower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like, I think I may be mistaken, but I think some of the, there were some more flashbacks added in the extended cut.
That could very well have been.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So we didn't see Martha's tombstone enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have to have that. And,
he's always walking back to, the grave. He's walking back to the grave.
Why does he never give his dad any love? Like, you see, like when he sets down the flowers, just blocks out his father's name.
Well, it's because, if he had said, Jonathan, we gotta save Jonathan, he'd be like, who's Jonathan? And mother stabbed him.
Yeah.
It's like Martha White. It was stupid. It's this fucking safe word. I mean, like watching it again, I know where they were trying to go with it. I know they were trying to find some kind of common ground, but it is the most.
Some kind of common ground to like maybe bring him back to that little boy watching his parents get gunned down and having nothing to do, and having no power to do anything. It was the only way that he could get through to Batman.
Yeah, he needed something to what's the word? To prompt a flashback. You know, we needed there had to have been a
need to do a Family Guy style cutaway gag.
Yeah, because we haven't explained enough who Martha Wayne was and that they got killed right in front of them. You know,
you know what? At this point, I just want them to I want them to redo his parents dying in every single Batman film from now on.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's always going to be done. You know, Uncle Ben's always going to die on screen, like in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne's parents die.
Yeah.
It's just one of those.
But they should change the way they die, you know, to whatever suit the plot. So they always could have the same and just kind of change it, modify it. You know?
It's like whenever he's having the flashback, like now, since he was going after Superman, it just like cuts to Superman just burning his parents to death.
I mean, if you think about it, all the Batman movies pretty much have done that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, say, what is it, Joker in the Tim Burton Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also Chris Nolan, they had in, like, it was relative to the plot.
But the thing is,
Ra's al Ghul, right? Wasn't it Ra's al Ghul that I think had them killed or something?
No, it was totally chill, but it kind of provided. Yeah, it was totally chill. He killed him, no problem. No, it was Joe Chill, but it served the purpose that it got Bruce Wayne out of Gotham and, you know, going around the world and then eventually meeting Ra's al Ghul and getting trained. Like, it was completely organic. This whole thing, all those flashbacks, all those visits to the grave, all those flashbacks, it got very redundant. And that was only to hammer in the point that, you know, gotta save Martha. Who's Martha? Why did you say that? I mean, come on.
If he had only known to say that at the beginning of the fight.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Bruce, we have to save Martha. Wait, what?
Well,
my mom.
That's another thing that was very lagging is just the script, because there were so many times there were characters saying nonsense to each other. And the biggest example that I can think of, or at least top 3 for me, is the email that Batman sends to Wonder Woman. And he's like, this picture doesn't belong to you. It is you. Well, just think about that sentence for a second, and that doesn't make any sense.
Actually, I thought that was like one of the things that didn't bother me. Like, but they did not set up they didn't set up the first part of that sentence at all. I mean, that's why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
As with most things in this movie, if they had adequately or intelligently set him up, it would have made more sense. Okay? Because a lot of the dialogue was trite. And then there were a couple times it was just cringeworthy. And then there was other times where you're like, oh my God, I know what you're saying. Can you like say it, you know, with a little more brevity?
Jeremy Irons would come along, wave his magic and make his dialogue work.
I just like to think that Jeremy Irons improv every line in there, because he's like, I'm not reading what you just wrote. So this is what Alfred would say.
Just rips the script up in front of Zack Snyder.
Fuck this shit.
Just roll the camera. I've got this.
Zach, I've been doing films for 40 years. You've been doing them for 2.5? No, 10, sir. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm going to make up my own dialogue.
And those scenes were like compelling. At least when the previous podcast we had, I know one thing that one of us noted was the dynamic that Bruce and Alfred have. I mean, obviously it's iconic in the comics and if you watch the shows and stuff, but it's been a little strange lately because, you know, we had Michael Caine and he was kind of more of like a moral guide, and or like maybe philosophical, like trying to keep Bruce in line. Whereas this one, Jeremy Irons' version is like he's a gearhead. He's a strategist, and he's ready to call Bruce out on his bullshit.
Yeah,
at the time he's like, don't lie to me. He's like, all right, that wasn't a dirty bomb. What is on that ship?
I love how he like gives him a chance to come clean every single time he's giving him, like he's calling him out on his shit.
Yeah, I really do like the angry Alfred, because in the past, Alfred, every time he got angry, sounded like, you know, what was it? One of you said during the film, it was kind of like I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah.
And this time it was definitely more, anger, which I thought was cool. It was nice and fresh. You know, I'm not saying this movie was totally devoid of any bright spots, because it had a lot of great things in it. It's just there was so much crap in between.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. It's they give you something that's really positive, and then they just completely throw a negative in your face, and you're just like, there's no reason. Slow-mo being a huge Huge con.
Anybody that has the ability to just like speed up those scenes for me and then post the finished product online so I could watch that instead of the actual cut of the movie.
Seriously. I mean, really, there were some things that definitely, like you said before, they should have added. And again, I keep coming back to it, but the movie he wanted to fucking make was, Batman Returns. And he threw that fucking nuclear missile scene, even though it didn't make any sense, as Rich said when we were watching it, to throw in one more piece of Jesus imagery.
Yeah.
But it was just because he wanted to do The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns, that's the book. I know I said before. But, he wanted to make that. And I wish somebody had said, dude, you're not making this movie. If you can't make this movie, then, go get another project.
That's like his fanboy got in the way.
Yeah, it really was. It was just, it got to the point where it was really obnoxious. Like, Rich, you said it perfectly. Why don't you say what Zack Snyder thinks of himself? Because
it's like he was just jerking off to having all these like unsubtle allegories in this film. Like he's the first person to ever do it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Superman is Jesus. Who would have thought of that?
Oh yeah, this is great. We got to make this slower because, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it seems like nobody told, Zack Snyder no during, these rights. He's just like, let's get Lex Luthor. He gets, Zod's body. And you're like, okay. He's like, and then we throw in Wonder Woman. I'm like, all right. And then, throw in Martha too. Like, we're going to do a relationship between her. Like, okay. Yeah, Doomsday. Okay. Like, yeah, let's get Flash and Aquaman and all of them. Like, fine. You have to say no at some point. Like, good God. And and then we're going to do the nuke. No. Okay. Like, yeah, we'll throw it in there.
Yeah, well, obviously for Justice League, they definitely put the clamps on him. Like, okay, because this came out about the time they started filming it, and they immediately put the clamps on him. They're like, I think they held up production for a couple of days, and
I think they also started doing some reshoots for. I forgot what reasons exactly, but yeah, I think it was halted.
Yeah, Zach, come on, you got to rise to the occasion. Your movies are turning out to be shit, so. Wonder Woman looks awesome, though. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
That looks great.
She's still the thing that gets me through this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend the whole time waiting for her to drop those arm braces and her theme music to kick in.
And that's one thing we were trying to decide whether or not, like, when Bruce Wayne first sees the picture of Wonder Woman back from 1918, if like in the movie that they played the Wonder Woman theme, because I don't remember them doing that, but you said that they did, Rich?
I don't remember the violins coming in. I remember the drums just being there.
Because when we went to see in the theater,
because the first time
we all loved that.
Yeah.
She brings down the bracelets, and then they kick in the da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
And it was just such an amazing moment.
Like, you got chills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it still works. Her scenes are fantastic. Her in action really, it wasn't like a token thing. She really added something to that Doomsday fight. And
honestly, I feel like by herself, she could have taken out Doomsday.
Yeah. Well,
like, kind of like Batman and Superman were kind of holding her back.
Yeah, she like they cut to Doomsday and she's got the lasso around Doomsday. She's holding him so Batman can shoot the kryptonite gas at him. It's just like, okay, boy with the gun, I'm taking care of this by my own muscle, knock this thing out.
It's like you two really literally haven't done anything in this fight. I've already lopped off his arm.
Yeah.
Took out his Achilles.
Yeah, she put in some work for sure.
The one thing I did appreciate with the Doomsday fight was having a venue for the three of them to work together.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool, and I thought they did that really well, because Doomsday should have been the worst fight, and it actually was the one that made the most sense. It was really nice seeing three superheroes from DC work together in that capacity.
The Trinity on screen for the first time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It should have been, that scene should have been in a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is just too much.
Yeah. They might have, I know they wanted to have the Trinity work together, and I really appreciate that, but I always said before, I thought they should have closed with, that line, that, said, Superman, this is going to be your Doomsday, and left teasing Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich brought up, Brainiac should have been in this, and that would have been perfect. to have Brainiac be the one, like, have him show up at the end to kind of tease the next film.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing that they left out of the movie. I know we were talking about it before we did this, or I brought it up. Like with Darkseid, he should have been also a reoccurring theme, or at least a motif, I'd say.
Yeah, even if you had his like symbol and graffiti on like random walls in Gotham, or
yeah, just how they're gonna mirror after the, I guess it was an old Justice League run now, since they've rebooted it probably twice, I think, since it came out, but it was also a DC animated movie, and they're gonna take a lot from that. But that was another thing too, that there are followers on Earth that are gonna, that are posing as people, and you take out things that you're trying to build on in Justice League, like give people a chance to, have a reference to go back to, so they know. Otherwise, you just throw them into the blue, because Darkseid and Apocalypse is not a very, as far as I know, unless you're fanboys and stuff, you don't really know much about that.
No.
So.
No. You'd be forgiven for confusing him for Thanos.
Yeah. But
yeah, well, and I wanted to bring up then, like, in hour 2 of the movie, during one of the many down parts, I saw on my phone, and an alert come up, and I went to see what it was, and Facebook opened up, and right there was Guardians of the Galaxy, the second trailer. So he's paused the movie so he could watch that. That looks hysterical.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. But we also took a lot of breaks, because this movie we just needed to. We had to take our own intermissions.
Yeah, about, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's like there's too many longing looks. It was like watching a superhero version of The Beyond.
Yeah, too many long looks. Well, they would do these long walks, like down corridors and so forth. And it's just like somebody like Jim Jarmusch can pull that off. I mean, if you saw Limits of Control, I mean, most of the movies, this guy walking around, different cities, but it's interesting the way he uses color and so forth. Zack Snyder is not Jim Jarmusch. I know what
you have to make something like that like the scenery come alive in order to make a walk or like drawn out pauses work.
Yeah.
It's just he's doing these facial close-ups as these people are walking in half speed.
And it's, well, like when he was walking to his parents' mausoleum, it was totally reminiscent of like Gladiator with the hand over the...
He may as well have just had the camera following him for the actual walk from the bunker to the mansion.
And you're exactly right. This is like Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, which is a 1981 Italian cheesy horror film. So Zack Snyder in a over $100 million movie his cinematography walk user from an Italian cheesy B movie director. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of scenes went on way too long. Funeral scene was way too long.
Oh my god, the funeral scene was what, 15 minutes?
I think it had to be at least 10. Which, by the way, editing was quite poor near the end. Because I know I brought it up when we were watching the movie that Bruce talks to Diana and they talk about getting the Justice League together. He bounces and Lois is still at at Clark's grave. And then enough time for Batman to go to where Lex Luthor's in prison, tell him he's going to be sent to Gotham, and then we cut back to Lois still there.
I'm convinced that was just either a flash forward or a flashback.
I feel like it was a flashback.
Yeah,
but like it still breaks up the pacing of that scene where they have a cutaway for when the cops find Luthor talking to Steppenwolf, and they cut back to Bruce, who then cuts back to his flashback of Luthor getting prepared for jail, him going to interrogate him, and then another cutaway to no, I think that was the last one, but she's still at the side of the grave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she puts the dirt on there.
Well, one thing we always thought was funny was, cause Bruce has that flashback or flash forward with, Lex Luthor in jail. And then, I don't know, Diana says something to him.
Oh yeah, she's like, why would they, why would they fight? Or what would we be fighting against? Or why do you think that they'll be fighting against something? And he's just like, oh, just a hunch. And then he just turns the stairs like slightly past the camera for like 10 seconds as like Diana just like,
Yeah, you see in the background just walking away.
Walk off.
So
And
you're just what?
And the great thing is, it's just like, it's like she motored off. Cause like when you see her walking away, she's a good pace behind him. It's not like she just turned and walked away. It's just like, why do you think they fight? Okay, you're taking too long. I'm leaving,
It's like, oh, he's having a flashback.
No, yeah.
It's like, I know that look.
It's like, I'll be in the car. But that totally would make more sense. Have the scene, the Batman going to Luthor scene before that, so that line could hold a little more power, have a little more context and have more meaning, for God's sake.
Oh my God, that would have been a great idea. That would have been an awesome
Yeah, and then
idea.
you end it, like, that's it. Well, obviously after the whole Lois thing, but it makes more sense.
It totally makes more sense because but you're right. That line makes, again, something shoehorned. There's something shoehorned in as a flashback. When if you, like you said, put it into current day context.
I think you just touched on my problem with this movie.
Editing.
Well, yeah, it's editing, but the way it's edited, it seems like they do an idea and then forgot that they didn't set it up and then do the setup afterwards.
Yeah, like right in the middle of a scene, we're going to give you exposition. So just so you can understand the rest of the scene, we're going to cut in with some exposition. Oh, except, we just also want to remind you that Bruce's mother's name is Martha.
Martha this, Martha that.
Why did you say that?
And the whole messianic imagery and whatnot. See the painting, I think it was a callback. I think at least 4 or 5 times. He just kept coming back to it randomly.
Yeah, and at the end they're showing like the people clearing out Lex's office, and they're taking that down. Like, why? What's the point? We get it, Zach. We get it.
Like, oh, we got one more reference. We got one more in there.
Zach, we get it. You grew up in parochial school, and this is your way of honoring and rebelling against it at the same time. We understand. Move on. Either that or Goyer. No, I'm gonna blame Zack Snyder.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Blame both of them at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Goyer, once you pair him with somebody like either one of the Nolan brothers and they can make his stories, take shape. But put him, I don't know who he was paired with, but it was just terrible.
And so yeah, somebody definitely needed to pull the reins on this. But I mean, like I said, there was quite a good amount of things. Watching it second time around, I say that since it's the Ultimate Edition, a lot of it was very positive for me. It made me like the movie a little bit better because of everything that was left out, But of course that came with a lot of things that were left in, like, scenes taking too long, some falling flat, poor editing, and just really weird lines.
Jimmy Olsen getting a name drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then getting killed like less than 5 minutes later.
Because he thought it would be funny.
I mean, I don't get this movie. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, it's like we're talking about editing and we're talking about story, and the editing was bad, but there's so many logic hiccups in the story. I mean, I think when we were writing it and the first time we reviewed this, we were talking about, that if the story was there, all they needed was intelligent connective tissue instead of being like the computer room. The computer room, at Lex's place is behind these unlocked glass doors right down the hall from the kitchen. Not even down the hall. It's like the next door over.
It's like, and you see security watching him as he's walking in there.
Yeah, why don't you, as we were saying before, it's just like, why didn't the whole thing be Lex Luthor if he knows about all these metahumans? Why isn't he trying, why doesn't he just do this to be like, all right, I gotta get, Batman and Superman to take one of them out, so there's one less, and like have, make it too easy, make it hard enough for, Bruce to be able to steal the, computer stuff and to then steal the, kryptonite. You can make those scenes and then, it's just like, well, it shows that they're a superhero, but also one of those things, doing all the superhero stuff and sneaking around. But also, have it, where Lex Luthor wants this to happen. So he's not, if he's such a genius, why is he doing ridiculously stupid things that like, a kindergartner could break into a system? I mean, it's like there's no thought given to the details of this.
Like movie. I said, you had like 3 unauthorized people just like making their way down there multiple times.
And I think it would have been cooler if Diana Prince was the one who hacked the computer, and then she slipped, Bruce, like, you know, the external hard drive or whatever.
Yeah.
And her being like, you know, I think you might find this, or somehow get her involved with that part, not do something as stupid and lazy as, okay, you know, Alfred telling him, you know, via headset at this cocktail party, yeah, go downstairs and make a left and it's right next to the kitchen. I'm like, you even said that in the dialogue as if it wasn't stupid enough watching it. I mean, it's like, to me, that's like you actively admitted that you just threw this fucking thing in there.
I don't know.
I mean, well, you know, Louis liked it. I'm not, you know, trashing you for that. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
No, I mean, I know you guys, we all had very different opinions. I know I liked it the most, but whatever, I totally see the faults in this movie. It could have been much, much better. But for what we got, especially with this cut, I was cool with it.
I was a lot cooler with this than I was with the theatrical version. I'll definitely give it that.
Yeah, I'll give it that too, because, you know, they didn't, you know, for the theatrical the theatrical version, you know, is lacking, but at least they added those bits of connective tissue that, you know, like, you know, giving Clark Kent the motivation to go after Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Giving Lois more of an arc with her trying to find the metal of the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that ultimately, that to me wasn't anything that was like major. You know, I mean, I know it was supposed to be major in context, but the way the movie set up, I just didn't really care about it. It just kind of seemed to me, a lot of Lois's part seemed like an afterthought. Like, all right, how can we shoehorn Lois into this movie?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was like, you know, very, very, very lazily written.
Yeah, here's the craziest thing. I mean, so when we first started the movie, I was like, I'm going to make sure I find out exactly the point where it starts going downhill. And as the movie is 3 hours long, it was just under halfway. It was like an hour 25. It was shortly after the email that Batman sent to Wonder Woman. And it just everything started to regress. And luckily we had the fight scene at the end that was just pretty neat. But still, like, we got not only padding, but we got characters just doing... Everybody jumps to so many conclusions in this movie.
Yeah, like,
all these adults.
What?
They're all, like, all these adults making, like, children's, you know...
leaps of logic?
Yeah, it was insane.
It's like every single time they're just like, hey, Superman was involved with this. Like, how? What would make you think that Superman was involved with this? Like, use your brains. Like, the first time. It's like, oh, he piled up the bodies, burned them all. No, he got them all to lay down on top of each other and then burned them to death.
Okay, any, like, you know, forensic student could figure out, like, even in charred bodies, there are bullet holes in them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, it's like, come on, really? How lazy are we going to get? If you're going to set up Superman, doing something like they did in the Senate scene was much more intelligently thought out, because you had this, you know, somehow, you know, somehow an electric wheelchair, you know, that, you know, had a lead casing inside of it, got past security. But, you know, I'll let that fly, you know, because it makes a lot more sense than all the other nonsense they were pulling. Yeah, just so
if you're going to set them up, don't stop at the desert. Like, start creating problems for him to fix and then having them blow up in his face. Like, that would do better for me.
But that would also keep the movie going. It just kind of have it, you know, build and build and build, and, you know, kind of like use the poking and prodding and testing of Superman to kind of also at the same time bring Batman into it a little more. I mean, cause they, you know, with the White House thing with, you know, it's like with the former, Wayne employee that, you know, lost his legs. It's like they set him up at the beginning and then you should have known, then they drop all this evidence on you that, you know, he hasn't been cashing his checks and all this stuff. And it's just like, even if Bruce didn't, you know, see the checks, I mean, somebody should have brought it brought it to his attention. I mean, it just seemed so ridiculous at all.
And what I was trying to figure out, was it him that wasn't cashing the checks, or was Luthor intercepting them
It was Luthor.
Was it Luthor?
Yeah, it was Luthor because he says it to him. He's like, "Oh, it took just a little, voided checks or whatever, and Batman he pretty much pushes him off the cliff."
And I'm surprised.
Oh wait, all right. See, that wasn't even made clear to me, like in either time I saw it, because all right, so what you're saying is that Luthor was holding on to the checks, which is why this guy was like so poor.
Well, no, I think he said that he wrote all the notes too, like, you let your family die, you did this. He was making that connection he was forcing Bruce to make that connection. If he doesn't act now, then more people are going to die. It's going to be on his hands. And then when the Capitol thing happens, I think that he should have thought, like, why wasn't he getting help? Like, it's my fault that I didn't know,
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm surprised the guy didn't like try to get a hold of Bruce himself.
But the thing is, it's just like, it's like if it's not clear, if it really is, I mean, I'm not saying you have to spell everything out for you, but it just seemed that was kind of dubious as to what was going on.
For such an important detail, they kind of hid that one away.
Yeah, and it's just
you let your family die? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
seriously,
that's fucking bullshit.
Like, how is it his fault that building came crashing down?
No,
what was he supposed to do?
That totally made no sense at all whatsoever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people should have figured out it was Lex just because of how fucking middle school his taunts were.
But it would have been so much, like you said, like we were talking, it's like it would have been so much better if this whole thing was either masterminded by Lex or by Brainiac or somebody, where everybody's on a leash and, none of the people put it together. And like you said before, like have Batman and Superman at each other's throats and have Wonder Woman figure it out and come there and break up the fight and not do this Martha bullshit safe word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how cool.
Yes, that would have been so much better. She comes in and just like snatches the spear out of Batman's hands and tells him to calm the fuck down.
Or she just breaks in and like knocks him down or whatever, and then like, the dust clears and you hear the I mean, just give her a dramatic egg, be like, boys, stop fighting, stop being an asshole, stop being assholes.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so when Superman goes to Batman, right underneath the bat signal, he's just like, Bruce, we need to talk, and he's one of those like, there's no time to talk, or it's over. It's very it's like one of those romantic comedies, where a character gets put in a very awkward position, but everything could be handled with a 5-minute conversation, if that.
Or
you don't start with Bruce, we need to talk,
and then deck him.
Right, I've got an hour.
Then he fucking fight like he like, I know Batman hits him with a fucking sonic weapon, but that should be a minor annoyance to him.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's pressed for time on this. He can't be like, we need to talk. He should just like fly in there and be like, Bruce, we're being set up. They've got my mother. I need your help.
Exactly.
It's like, it's such bullshit. It's like, well, I've got all the time in the world. Bruce, we need to talk. Want to go grab a cup of coffee?
Fuck it, just like fly in, grab him, take him up into the sky so that he's away from all of his weapons, and say, Bruce, Lex sent me here to kill you or else he'll kill my mother. Can we cut the bullshit and you help me save her?
Yeah.
If you want to fight, we'll continue this after I save her. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, that ticking clock thing and when you're trying to do this stuff is just such bullshit. I mean,
that and the fact that like he claims that if Superman flew off to go save her, she would die. He has no possible way of keeping tabs on him. Plus the fact that Batman then goes to try and get her with like, what, 10, 15 minutes left?
No, he's got less than 10 minutes left. He's able to change and then get into the Batwing.
He's able to change, get into the Batwing, fly there, take out whatever cavalcade or whatever group of soldiers that were out there, take out the guys on the floor outside, on the top floor, outside of the door where the guy was holding the flamethrower. And that entire time he didn't do anything. He didn't make a move.
Yeah.
Like there was it was an empty threat.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that's the thing is, I think this film was just really, 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 really lazy. I think it was just really lazy.
Yeah.
It was. They just rely on the fact that, it's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He does evil stuff.
And
There's a half-assed explanation for why he's doing all these things.
And I never pictured Lex to be insane. I expected Lex was always like very calm, cool, rational.
And his plans worked.
Yeah. And, I mean,
or
like,
at least were well thought out.
I mean, you look at, like we were talking about, like Superman 1978. I mean, the whole thing about, the clever thing about that scene with Lex Luthor and how, Superman found the kryptonite. It's like, it was a very subtle thing, and Lex used, Superman's compassion against him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
he made him so desperate that as soon as he saw the lead box, he's like, that's where the detonator's got to be. And he opened it up, and it was without thinking. It was just this really, really clever little, chess match they played in like under 5 minutes. And you have this whole movie, and Lex is like this deranged thing, and everything's convoluted, and he's kind of an idiot. And the movie made no sense at all. Like, in terms of, like, well, amongst the things, like, the way they handled Lex Luthor was just, I thought, inexcusable, really.
Yeah, the first I was okay with him, and then I think it was the gallery scene with the speech. I was like, okay, I know what you're trying to make him a little awkward. Have kind of either social anxiety or just as a impediment of some kind. But I'm like, all right, but you can easily pull it back a little bit, and we can get what you're going for, and it'd be much better.
Yeah.
Because especially behind closed doors, like, the whole Granny's peach tea thing was actually much better this watch. Because I remember I hated that scene. I did not like the first time I saw it, but it was fine. It was a little bit better, but after that, they didn't get Lex right.
So he's a petulant child.
Yeah. I would much liked it better if he was like this arrogant, like, he was this arrogant philanthropist. It's just like, he was feigning generosity.
I would like it like the daddy issues that he had that fed this whole thing against Superman.
Yeah.
Did not work for me. I would rather have him just his arrogance at there being somebody that people liked more than him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or even try to live up to, his dad's name. Because if you want to, like, you don't have to be, an angsty teenager or whatever. Like, have his dad casting a shadow over him, so he wants to be more successful. He wants the Luthor name, to finally be his instead of his father's,
Yeah, and do it more for, I don't know. They got Lex. I mean, seriously, for somebody who is like dying to make Batman or The Dark Knight Returns, I mean, it's like nobody read, understood Lex Luthor's character.
Yeah.
Spent way too much time just trying to like change characters to different, like to set himself apart from like the movies that came before it. So what do you guys think? Was it worth the effort to give this an extended cut? Like, did these scenes add anything more for you?
I'm going to say absolutely worth it. Without a doubt. I wish I saw this in theater. I would definitely buy it, and I'd honestly watch it. Like, that won't be the first thing I put it on, but if they ever had this, director's cut on TV, I'd leave it on.
Yeah, I wish I had seen this in theaters, because I think I would have come away with a better appreciation for the actual movie. But it was refreshing the first time I saw the extended cut to see like Superman's motivation added in, maybe a little bit more Lois, and just little touches like that. I could have done without the extra padding, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
Yeah, this one's kind of hard for me to grade. I mean, because on the one hand, I didn't like it in the theater, and I liked it even less here. And they really needed to do a lot more work on this movie. However, even though like half of what they added was padding, the other half, like you said, Rich, like made the other part work. So even on a movie I don't like, I think this movie works overall better, even though it makes it more boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
It's a fair assessment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the silver lining is Wonder Woman's coming up soon, so.
Oh yeah, that movie looks so good. I mean, even now, like, we went to see Doctor Strange. We saw the trailer for Wonder Woman, and when they played her theme and they have the W symbol come up in there, I was getting chills. I'm like, God damn, I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer, I think that was something we kept coming back to watching this.
Yeah, the soundtrack is amazing.
Soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah.
Save this movie.
Well, that's what when we rewatched Man of Steel, I realized why the movie worked, and it was his score that really carried a lot of that film.
Yeah.
And his score, which I think we all agree, like the Batman or the Clark Kent, Lois scenes were really a lot of his story was a lot of moping, but those scenes, I mean, all that stuff, all the Superman themes that Hans Zimmer had from Man of Steel, just wow.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
All right. So this has been Was It Worth It? I'm Rich Perry.
I'm Luis Duran.
And I'm Chris Morgan.
And you all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.